Call this meeting of the Select Board to order, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we do have a couple announcements. We wish to thank everyone who helped with the local election, the election staff, the DPW crew, the maintenance staff, the school department staff, and the police department. A special thanks goes out to all the citizens who came out to cast their votes. We look forward to seeing everyone at the polls for the September primary on Tuesday, September 6th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. The Grafton Gazebo Road Race was held on May 14th with over 200 registered runners. Thanks to all of the participants, and a special thanks to the Recreation Department for all their dedication and hard work organizing this event. Silver Lake Beach will open from June 18th to August 14th, weather permitting, with a tentative schedule of Tuesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Season passes need to be purchased in advance and online. Visit the Grafton Recreation page for more details. The Woo Sox will be hosting a series of town takeover events this season for communities in central Massachusetts. The Grafton Takeover will be on June 25th when the Woo Sox take on the Charlotte Knights. Tickets are available at milb.com. So that's all we have for announcements. And the first thing on the agenda we have tonight are to welcome two new members, Anne-Marie Foley and Andy Jefferson. Welcome.
Thanks.
And congratulations. Yes.
Is there anything you want to say? I didn't think so.
And the next thing we have is to reorganize and committee assignments.
Madam Chairman.
Right.
I move to appoint Colleen Roy as chairman of the board.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. And now I can take a motion for vice chair.
Madam Chairman.
Right.
I move to appoint Matt Often as vice chair.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. And clerk?
Madam Chair.
Right.
I move to appoint Andy Jefferson clerk.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, congratulations. There's a lot of responsibility with that, so just
Congratulations.
watch out.
Ray moved that so he wouldn't wind up being the clerk.
Oh no, I was
That's how
going
it
to decline. I was going to decline that one.
So the next thing we have to do real quick is committee assignments. Do you guys have that in front of you or have an idea of what you want to do with that?
Forgot to bring that tonight.
No problem. We can share.
Thank you. Do we
So the first thing is called shared services. It's currently inactive, so we don't have to worry about that. Grafton Sustainability was, Andy, we got one right here for you, was disbanded. Next is Affordable Housing Trust. Matt is on that currently. He has signaled to me he would like to stay on. So if everybody's okay with that. The next is Charter Franchise Negotiation, and that's Peter. So I can take that unless somebody was excited for that. Okay. CIPC, I don't mind staying on that if everybody's okay with that. CMRPC, that's Matt and Ray. Ray, you good with that still?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Bob Berger, we appointed him as our Disability Commission. I think as long as everybody's okay with that, we can leave him there. DPW Facility Building Committee, I did reach out to a committee member. They are still active. They have 1 or 2 meetings still. That member indicated to me that Peter wanted to stay on, but I don't recall Peter saying that. Do you remember that at all?
No.
Peter? Okay.
No, not at all.
So what does the board want to do with that?
I'll take that just to the end. Just a couple more meetings. That's all.
Okay.
What did Matt? Matt. Oh, jeez. What's your name?
Evan.
Evan. Yeah. There you go. What do they do? Why are they still meeting?
They've just got a couple things to wrap up as far as finalizing their spend from the accounting office and then verifying minutes and disbanding.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
EDC, Ray, that's you. Do you want to stay on there?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Fire Chief Search Committee, we have met and finalized our minutes, so that's ready to be disbanded at an upcoming meeting, so we don't need to worry about that. Library Planning and Building Committee, do we know if there's,
So about that, I was a FinCom representative, and they allowed me to stay on, and because we're only supposed to have a couple more meetings and continue to represent, so I'd be happy to do that for the select board as well. Just take over that spot.
yeah, sounds great. Okay. MBTA rep, Ray, are you good
Yep.
with that still?
Still
All
good.
right. Open Space and Rec, Amory, you're on that committee.
Yep.
Do you want to become the select board rep?
Absolutely.
All right, and then we can just notify everybody there's an at-large member there.
And Doreen will probably move into that.
Okay. Waste Reduction and Recycling Committee, you both were on that. You two, right?
I'm not on that, no.
Oh, you're
No,
not?
it's just
Oh,
me.
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, Andy, do you want to do that one?
I do. And Doreen had indicated that she'd probably want to stay on board as well, so
Okay. I think we still have to
we have to post it.
let everybody know,
Yep.
but yeah. And then TIF, Ray, that's
Yep.
still you.
Yep.
Trust of Soldiers and Sailors Memorial, that'll be me. South Grafton Community Oversight, they're currently inactive. Should we just name someone just in case they become active? All right.
My-
And then the ARPA committee, Amory, you're on that. Do you want to take that spot?
Mhm.
Okay, and then we'll notify everybody there's a spot open for that one. And bylaw review committee, that's Ray. Tricom, that's Matt and I, and he didn't signal me that he wanted to get off, so. All right. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah. it's fine
Great.
with me.
Okay, so the next up is request for road closure on Jordan Boulevard. We have Trevor Boylston here to tell us a little bit about that.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for making time for me this evening. I am the founder and president of the nonprofit organization Grafton Pride. June is Pride Month across the globe, and we would like to host our festival. We are hosting our festival this weekend, June 4th. We are requesting to close George H. Jordan Boulevard for the festival in partnership with the local businesses. We've worked with Off the Common Antiques, Quite Fetching, Townhouse Tavern, the UU Church, Beats, Apple Tree Arts, and the Grafton County Store to make sure everyone is aligned with being okay to have that street closed for the day. Our plan is to move the Apple Tree Arts mobile stage outside for a jazz brunch and evening performance concert, as well as have vendor spaces for local craft vendors, most of them from the Grafton Farmers Market, in attendance. We are expecting approximately 250 people over the course of the day, starting at 11 a.m. and ending at 8:30 p.m.
All right. Does the board have any questions? Okay, I actually did have a couple questions. The last event we had on the common like this where we did a road closure, it was determined to close in front of the Congregational Church instead of Jordan Boulevard because the police chief thought that there was a safer move. Are you opposed to doing that instead?
The Small Stones Art Festival did take place on Jordan Boulevard. I have worked with Chief Crapo, and we have a detail officer for the day. Our original plan was to split the event between the Common and Jordan Boulevard, and he felt it was safer to consolidate to Jordan Boulevard with road closure barricades at each end.
Okay. And then how about the time? You're requesting a closure for 12 hours, and is there a reason for that?
Yes, the festival itself will go from 11 to 8:30 p.m. There are events over the whole course of the day during that time. We're requesting it earlier than that, so we have time to carry the stage outside and set it up manually. So we have time to prepare the area. So we are requesting it slightly earlier than the 11 o'clock start time, just so we do have time to prepare the area.
And so is the stage on Jordan Boulevard or is it on the Common?
It's on Jordan Boulevard. Per Chief Crapo, we are consolidating everything to Jordan Boulevard if we gain permission tonight to close Jordan Boulevard.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, I move that the board vote to close Jordan Boulevard on June 4th from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Declared the motion carried. All right.
Thank you very
are
much.
all set. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Hope to see some of you there.
All right, next up is music license application, Holden Farm Sunflower Shanty. So, I don't know how we want to actually start this. Just,
Well, Madam Chair?
yes.
So the last time that we all met, we asked, Holden Farms to come back to us with a plan.
Right.
And I'm interested in hearing the plan and seeing that. Not interested in a lot of debate, but, you know, I'd like to see the plan and see what's been done, what they can do.
Yep, they did send the board an email. Do you guys want to come up and talk about what you sent to us and any other additional plans you might have? Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So you guys sent the email. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we did a little mock test with a small box and a speaker, moving blankets just to ensure that it would work. We used our decibel reader front side in the rear to ensure that it was moving the music in the right direction, which then leads us to our plans of constructing one on a larger scale to do the same with better materials and sound dampening materials.
Okay. So you're asking for about 6 weeks to do something like this.
Correct.
So if we were to approve licenses for about that long, and then you guys can come back and kind of do what we're doing here, we did May and then have you come back in like July or something and figure it all out, would that work?
I think that sounds fair.
I mean, yeah. That's what you're.
Well, I don't know, how does the rest of the board feel about
I
that?
think that you guys did a test, you sent us a video.
Yeah.
I think you should explain more about that because, you know, just telling us that you used a box and a blanket in a decibel meter really doesn't tell anybody what took place, so
Do we have the video? No.
I have no idea.
I don't think we have we don't have the availability to pull up the video, but they did send us a video.
Presented the flash drive.
Right. Yeah. I dropped them off on 2 flash drives. So.
I can pull up the documentation that you sent us with the dimensions and the specifications.
You could do that if you'd like, yeah. Because we just did it on a small scale. It was like a 3x3 foot box, I'd say, and we have the plan to make it, I believe it was 20 feet in the rear with the front being 30 feet so that it would be slanted, directed away. There she is.
Okay.
Ain't she a beaut?
And in the video, when we started in front of the box, you could clearly state that the decimal reader, I think it was,
Significantly reduced.
yeah, it started in front of the box at 65 decimals, and as I proceeded towards the box, it'd be easier if we had the video, but
It goes higher when it's directly in front of it.
I mean, I guess I could play it, right? Well, you guys have heard it. You guys,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
we've
seen
both
it.
seen it.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Yep.
I just wanted you to explain it, so, you know, there was a decibel reading with the speaker, you know, in front of the speaker, then there was another one behind the speaker.
and we did 2 different tests. We did one at 10 feet, and then we did the next one at 25 feet, and you still saw the decrease in sound, so I'm guessing the further away, the quieter it's gonna get.
The test box you have now, is that in use in any capacity where if somebody has a smaller amplification system, you can be using that or
It's
not?
like a 4x4 box.
Okay, so what you had in it's not really,
It was a trial run to make sure it would work.
And now, like she was saying, we use moving blankets, but we purchased a sound dampening blanket, I guess it's called,
Multiple.
which is 2 inches thick. It has 2 different materials, like a weaving material to keep the sound down.
okay. Any other questions or?
The only thing that I have is that, you know, 6 weeks to build it is,
I mean, what would you guys like to see? I mean, I just,
I'd like to see it tomorrow, but
Wouldn't we
mean,
all?
it's not gonna happen,
Right,
but,
right.
but I don't, you know, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna build it or what you're gonna build it out of or anything like that, but, and I know that we're showing, sound dampening blankets, which I think is great. I saw the video. I thought the video was great. It really dropped the decibel level tremendously. But again, I don't know what you're gonna build it with, and 6 weeks just seems like a long time to, but you tell me.
You said you already got the blankets, what we have here on the Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, we started collecting some.
Yeah.
I believe it's gonna take something like 20 blankets
Yeah.
to do,
So I'm
the
wondering, like, so
area.
in the terms of materials, like, how long do you think that will take just to even get materials? Because that's kind of a concern now, right?
And just, yeah, I mean, I don't see it taking
It's the cost as well.
the cost as well, and then
So we're
time.
hoping to recoup some of our costs as we have
Okay.
been open while we're spending.
Yep. Fair enough.
So do you think you could do it by June 25th? And then we can kind of, we can just approve all of the music licenses up to June 25th? Cause that
I mean, I guess I'd be looking for, like, the license that we're coming in front of you guys for. Instead of like yeah, well, I mean, if we have to construct this temporary structure, it's gonna take us time, money.
Right.
I mean, to come back, I mean, it's,
Can we come back if there's a complaint?
Yeah, yep, that's true too. It's just, you're gonna be spending all this money either way, and there could be a complaint either way, and if you set it up whereas we'll come back when there's a complaint, you're kind of teeing it up for, all I have to do is make a complaint and they're gonna be right back in front of the board. Whereas if we can kind of do what we did the first time where we gave a batch, cause we know you're coming back for other licenses, and do another batch and just have a built-in lever, cause this is a unique situation, right? It's not like it's a restaurant where we just, here you go, cause we understand this situation. We don't understand the situation yet. It's constantly evolving. So I personally would feel more comfortable in putting in, another couple weeks and then see where you are at that point, and then,
All right, we'll make it work.
Is there any way that you can set up the blankets temporarily? I know you're gonna build something, but just, some staging or something,
Yeah, yeah.
to
We'll
start
do our
off, and
best.
just drape the blankets on the staging and, something. Cause you've got 11 dates in June. And that's, if you could if you've already purchased some of the blankets,
Something's better than nothing.
take them out of the bags and, put them up on some staging or something to try to stop because again, watching the video, it was a tremendous reduction in decibel levels, and that was only 10 feet away. So, I think it's gonna work great.
Thank you, I do too. I have no doubt there'll be no problems.
So something that the board might want to consider is to approve the request as presented, but set a date for them to come back in and have a follow-up conversation.
Yeah.
Because at that point, if, I don't expect this would happen, but if things were going off the rails, you can amend your vote at any time, right? This isn't a forever thing. We said you could do it, you can do no matter what. So if you could vote tonight for those dates so that they as a business can plan what they think the revenue is going to be to offset the cost of what they're doing, I think that's maybe what Trevor was alluding to.
Okay.
But then still set a date for 6 weeks to just come back in and have a conversation with the board, check in, see how it's
Yeah, let us know how you're
Going.
doing.
Okay. And would it still remain acoustic on Sundays or?
what,
If we're constructing this, then I have no doubt that it's going to do the job that it needs to do.
Okay.
So,
Does the board feel comfortable with that?
I'm good with it.
I mean, I know we have neighbors in attendance. There was requests the last time they were in front of the board to, either have some discussions and for the board itself to regroup and see how we felt some of the mitigations were going in the meantime. So, I mean, if it's possible, I think we should allow some comment from them. I'd prefer to hear from them before granting the license moving forward to see how we've done in the last month.
Okay.
I mean, that's all in trial and error, though. I mean, we've had probably only a handful of musicians actually come out. We've had people refuse to come play. I mean, it's affecting us there. We're cut back on hours, so we're paying these people to come out and play full duration, and we're like, oh, well, we gotta be done. You know, so it's like it's affecting us in numerous situations, I guess.
All right, well, if, I'm interested in hearing what the neighbors have to say, but I'm gonna limit everybody to 2 minutes, or it's not gonna go on, so if anybody does wanna speak, if anybody on Zoom, or if anybody in attendance has any comments on what they've heard tonight. Yes, sir. As well as anybody have their hand raised?
Nobody on Zoom has their hand up.
Great.
But if they raise it, I'll let you know.
Bill Richlick, 90 Weston Street. You know, when this all started, the board on 2 occasions asked Sunflower Shanty, Holden Farms, to reach out to the neighbors and try and find a compromise. That just didn't happen. You people sit here and you're negotiating with them without any input from us. I don't get it. You, a year ago, the Grafton Select Board issued permits for an acoustical guitarist, not amplified music. That's the issue. We're in an R40 residential zone. You know, you guys are elected. You seem to have the idea that granting blocks of one-day permits are just fine. I think it's only my opinion, okay? Special one-day permits are for that specific reason, not to circumvent the zoning laws of the town of Grafton. You know, we were okay with acoustical guitar, it wasn't bothering anybody, but you put a band with drums. Now all of a sudden, the electric guitars have to be louder. If there's brass there, the guitars have to be louder. Everything's got to be amplified and turned up. We live across the street. I don't feel that we have to listen to that. It's not fair. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. All right, you guys had your hands up at the same time, so 1 and then 2, I suppose.
Thank you, Selectman. This is my first time, so 3 Morgan Drive, and we are their biggest customers. I have no issues. We still give them a lot of business. The music is loud. It's annoying. I live half mile away. First 2 weekends are fine, but like every weekend, you know, it's not acceptable. All we want is, you know, there has to be some controls. You know, I think this music issue is going on since last year, and all they have to do is just reduce the volume. And I don't know why we are sitting over here. I mean, all they have to do is reduce the music, the volume, and now we have a plan: 3 by 3 foot, 4 by foot. I mean, who's gonna regulate the volume will go up or down? I mean, I don't have time. And I was talking with my neighbors, shall I sell my house? So, I mean, I've been living in this town for last 16 years, and I'm thinking about selling my house. And I think all my neighbors are their good customers. I wish them good luck, good success. I still go to their place, buy my vegetables, but you know, I don't like AC/DC or, you know, all kinds of heavy metal music. And I like music, but not every weekend. Not every weekend. It's like too much. So you have to find a solution for us before we start selling our homes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you want to speak, sir?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 13 Morgan Drive. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak up. I would like to second the opinions and the views expressed by my neighbors. I'm not going to sound redundant and say the same thing, but my request to you is we have to keep the noise level down. It bothers us, and we live within spitting distance of the farm. We shop there. They're great neighbors. It's good to have the farm in our neighborhood. but we have to address this elephant in the room, which is the high decibelity and the music and the cacophony. It's not music in my view that we don't like, we don't appreciate. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak up.
Thank you. Anybody on Zoom? Will?
No, no one.
Okay. The gentleman in the back, and then you, ma'am. Okay.
Ken Remlad, 2 Mountain View Lane. I live right behind Bill Richlick, 90 Messon Road. Going on what Ray said a couple meetings ago, where he can hear the Mass Pike. Where I live, I can hear the Mass Pike. Years ago, when Westboro Speedway was still active, which is where Lowe's is, and on Route 9 in
You're dating
Westboro.
yourself. You're dating yourself now.
I know. I could hear Westboro Speedway on my property. So my opinion is we need to keep the farms going. I've lived in Grafton my whole life, 66 years I've lived in Grafton. We had Adams Dairy Farm on Millbury Street, developed. A sod farm on Fitzpatrick Road, developed. Maintenance Chicken Farm, Pleasant Street, developed. Nicalic Chicken Farm, Follette Street, developed. Jones's Pig Farm, Follette Street, developed. Magano Pig Farm, Crosby Street, developed. Hershey Mirando Dairy Farm, Maple Street, don't know what they're doing.
Oh, can I just stop you for 1 second? Can we just stick to the applicant in front of us?
I am.
Doesn't
I
sound.
am. My point is, they're the last farm in town. We had a lot of farms in town, and they're all gone now, developed. These people could sell their land to a developer any day they wanted to and develop it. Is that what we want? Do we want another development in our neighborhood? I don't. But I mean, if they have to have this shanty to keep going to keep themselves alive, then I'm all for it.
Okay.
And I live right behind Bill. I mean,
And do you hear the music?
I can hear the music every weekend. I listen to the music. I sit on my front porch and listen to it. And it doesn't bother me a bit. I rather enjoy it. I don't have to pay to go there.
You can drink your own beer.
I can drink my own beer. Not that I drink, because I don't drink.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something?
Ruth Holden, 139 Old Westboro Road. I live very close to the shanty. My sister-in-law lives even closer. The shanty is behind her house. It is not in line with the Richlicks at all. And she owns 245 feet on that side from the road, and the shanty is behind it and behind your home, right? They cannot see the shanty even from their house. They can see the goats. They can hear the children playing in the play yard. We live 70 feet from the parking lot, and the parking lot is between her house and our house. In the summertime, we have our windows open. We have a TV there. We have never shut our windows. We have never turned our TV up. We can hear some music, but I couldn't tell you what it is. If I want to hear anything, I go out on my back step to hear muffled music. And I'm a lot closer. And my sister-in-law, how many feet are you?
I don't know. It's just walking across my lawn.
Maybe this back
Here to Ray.
from back.
Always me.
Well, yeah. So I'm saying to you, and you know what? How many neighbors have come to me? How many customers have come to me? They can't believe this is going on. And brass bands and all this stuff and this outrageous noise. We had one, I will tell you. And it was a DJ. It wasn't any band. And it was a family wedding. And it was there till 11 o'clock, from 4 to 11. It had nothing to do with the shanty. In fact, the whole farm was closed for the weekend. And yes, they were there till 11 o'clock, and I'm sure the Richlicks heard it. I heard it. But it was one occasion, and they are blowing this all out of proportion. And we do not have a liquor license there. We have a beer and wine license, but you keep hearing liquor license, bands, bands, bands. One band a week, and the other is a guitarist or whatever. I heard the radio at one end, and you couldn't even hear it down near their end. They had a radio on there. So I guess I would say to you, I think this has been presented in a very odd way, and people up Old Westboro Road have said to us, we don't even know you're there, that lived before Morgan Drive, and said she would be very happy to sign a petition. She didn't know there was a problem. So that's what I got to say.
All right, thank you. All right, so we've heard kind of both sides from different sets of neighbors. Do you guys want to continue hearing more, or are we good? Have you heard what you needed to hear?
I've heard what I think I need from.
Have you heard what you needed to hear?
Yeah, I just want to make a statement that, you know, this whole thing is what you could say is rolled out of control. And what we asked Holden Farms or Sunflower Shanty to do was to bring us a plan of how to resolve and solve this problem. That's what they have done. And I think we give it a try and we see what it does. I think they've worked hard at this thing, and the last thing I want to do is put them out of business or close them down. I'm not interested in that at all. But there are methods that can reduce the sound and reduce the noise, and I think we're on the right track, and that's what we asked them to do.
I would even go a step further and say, while we're giving you guys the time to construct this, maybe keep Sundays acoustic as just a compromise, and then once it's constructed, and then you'll have that revisit with us, and then we can, are you guys amenable to that for now, just to give a reprieve? Or that is not good for you?
It's been absolutely terrible. I had a musician, guitar, singing at the top of his lungs, and I couldn't hear him from me to you without some type of amplification. I'm not saying a 7-person band, a one-man show with his guitar and a speaker.
It's like a little box speaker. It's not tower speakers. It's
And you know
not-
what? We could put it inside the box. The prototype
sample one?
box.
You could
Yeah.
Right.
build it temporarily while you're building the structure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I would suggest. I mean, you know, we totally understand the noise, and, you know, I tend to like AC/DC, but, you know, what I want to hear it at, you know, at Sunday after, well, yeah, I probably would. But anyway,
I mean, has anybody on the board gone down there and experienced it? Because I did. I went down, I sat down there on a Saturday, I listened to it, I walked out to the street, I listened to it, I drove down on a Sunday, and I parked on the side of the street to see if I could hear anything. I heard nothing on the Sunday. It seemed very reasonable when I walked out to the street on that Saturday. If somebody was mowing their lawn, you wouldn't have heard it at all. But that was my experience. And I think you guys are taking steps to even mitigate it further, which is great. And it's just, how can we, get to a compromise? So I liked Evan's suggestion where we just grant it, but then pick a date to have you guys come back, sooner than October, obviously.
Sounds
No.
fair to me.
Okay.
And what about 8:30 on Saturday? I mean,
That was
literally-
that was the original ask, was 8:30.
It's still light out at 7:30.
Yep.
Everybody leaves when the music's done. 7:30. Bye.
and it ultimately like kills our business for the last.
I mean, how does the board feel?
I think that we have to compromise here, and we have to listen to the residents, and we have to listen to you guys, and until you get that thing built,
You'll give us till 8?
I wouldn't have a problem giving you to 8:30, but I think that it should be restricted at this point until that's built.
Until the box is built.
Yeah, I think so. That's just, I don't want, we're gonna go into June and people are gonna be, listening or hearing or, whatever it is. And I think that's how I feel anyway.
I think that's fair too, because up until now, you guys haven't had Fridays. You're gonna be adding on Fridays now.
Yeah.
So that's another opportunity for you, so, I know it's still light out, and hopefully we'll get back to you before it's, it's still gonna be light out when we talk to you again, and the box will be built, and hopefully it's a whole different conversation, Everybody's excited, and how do you guys feel?
Same. I agree with what's being said. I think 7:30 was a compromise. You've come back and you have a plan, and that's great. But until something moves forward, that we need to stick with that compromise.
So until the box is built,
Well, something,
7:30.
something more permanent, that's.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, that's all.
So, alright.
All right, so how about we?
Yeah, what about the temporary structure though, that you guys were suggesting?
The,
So you're
if
saying
you
it's
did,
right-
if you did something temporarily, I mean, I'd be willing to go out there and take a look at it and,
I'm just saying, we have like a 10 by 20 easy up tent.
yeah,
I could hang them in that, you know what I mean, see how it works on that.
yeah.
I mean, I
You
know
know,
it's not
again,
a solid structure on the outside, but it'll give us a feel for how it's gonna work.
it's something that you could use that, the decibel meter again and,
Right.
and see what it is and then just send it to us. I mean, again, we want to compromise here. We really do. So whatever you can do to advance that, compromise, that's what we want to do.
All right.
All right. So if there's no more discussion, I can take a motion.
I move that,
So Fridays from 5:30 to 8:30, Saturdays from 1:30 to 4:30, and then 5:30 to 7:30, and then Sundays from 1:30 to 4:30.
That's what we're allowed.
Yeah, that's
Right
that's
now.
what that's what you guys
Right
asked
now.
for, minus
now.
the Saturdays.
Yep.
Yeah.
and I move to issue, an entertainment license to Sunflower Shanty, per the music schedule submitted with the times that, the chairman just said.
Okay, so I'm gonna just amend it real quick, cause I said on Saturday 5:30 to 8:30, that's what they requested, but I think we settled on 5:30 to 7:30
Yeah,
until they
no,
come
what
back.
you
Okay.
had just said,
Yep,
yeah.
alright, motion made, any second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, any discussion on the motion? All those, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, declare the motion carried, so you guys are all set, we'll have you come back in early July, and that should be, okay.
Or I
We'll
can
see you
just,
then.
we can just reach out to you when the thing is, the
As soon as it's
actual
built.
structure.
Yeah, if it's
is
done
built.
sooner, let
Yep.
us know, have you
Yeah.
come in sooner,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely,
okay.
definitely, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, so the next on the agenda is the Affordable Housing Trust fee reduction. Do we have anybody from the Affordable Housing Trust on Zoom?
I thought I saw Bruce come in here
Oh, there he is. Oh, he's hiding in the back.
in person.
Take a minute, let the room clear out.
Again.
Oh, and Mr. Swenson, right on time.
Good night.
All right, so we have the Affordable Housing Trust here. They sent us a fee reduction request, and why don't you guys tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So this particular project, as you're all aware, is the Upland Street GSX partnership. Some time ago, a long time ago now, the Affordable Housing Trust reached out to GSX with the opportunity to partner and to increase the unit count, the affordability unit count, from 10%, which is required from the overlay, to 25%. Which has a couple different impacts for the town. One being that the Affordable Housing Trust gets to develop units in a development that's already on its way, and two, all the units count towards our SHI, which by my calculation and what the housing production plan should vet out as we started in July, should give us what I would guess would be about 6 years at least of safe harbor. So it would put us above the 10% threshold as far as the unit count is concerned. It should hold there for about 6 years. And the reason why I say 6 years is because there's a lot of new zoning that's on the horizon, the MBTA zoning and things of that nature, which really could blow our SHI or our index out of the water. So I would say it's the foreseeable future for what it is. And of course, that gives you a lot of control over the current projects that are coming behind the Pine Street project. Anyway, so what we did originally was we were looking to do a smaller grant from the Housing Trust Reserves and then use a TIF to mitigate some of the other end of it. So a TIF is not allowable for residential neighborhoods or residential complexes. So we had to kind of go back to the drawing board. The trust was willing to spend the additional money, which went from a 900K grant to a 1.8 million grant to subsidize and to get the unit counts that we wanted. And in the process of doing so, the trust has tasked me and Eric to reach out to all the independent municipal departments to find a way to mitigate some of that 900K. So we've gotten buy-in from the water district. We are approaching the sewer district, which we're hoping will have favorable results as well. The select board has authority governing the local permitting, which is why we're here tonight. And we also asked GSX, should it be a profitable enterprise, which we're going to assume it is at the unit count and density and the cost of the land where it's at, that they're going to kick back money to the trust as well. We expect the project's going to take a couple years, somewhere between 2 and 3. And, at this stage now, we're finishing up the grant. They're going to do some more architectural work and then get before the planning board and the special permit process. So one of the unique things about this particular site is, we were at the town meeting, took the old highway department, we put the village, essentially the village mixed use overlay there, which allowed this kind of by right, went out to RFP. GSX was the only bidder. And it seems to be a pretty good site. And the environmental was done just last week or the week before.
Yeah, it's been ongoing for like a month, but I think they just wrapped up in the last 2 weeks.
So we expect positive results from that as well. So as shared with me from the principals at GSX, they have a pretty large budget in there now. They expect it to be about that. From the trust perspective, we really like the project. It lets us use our funds to actually have a significant impact. Taking advantage of the opportunity. In any other style, we wouldn't have the ability to build the units that we're building now at the cost we're getting per unit. Further subsidizing on the town's behalf, which of course has a vested interest in this project. For one, it cleans up the old DPW site, puts something there. 2, it creates a lot of housing, and 3, which is equally important from a municipal's perspective, is the fact that you're going to get all 120 something units counting towards your SHI, which can have a significant impact on your decision making moving forward, especially as right behind us you have 2 lit proposals coming in, or well, I guess 3, for fairly dense sub developments. That's a roundabout, but I know I could go on and on if you'd like me to about the project. But what we're looking for is basically just, it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. So we wanted to get something in front of you because it was like, who does what in this particular process. When we developed the bylaw and passed it at town meeting, we didn't cover a lot of these things. The trust is going to step in and kind of take over those things, like making sure monitoring is in place, working with DHCD, making sure the unit count's proper, those type of things that are a little bit more sophisticated than were added into the bylaw. Moving forward, we'd want to, of course, adjust those things, but we have, we're working with what we have now. So, I think what we wanted to do was just come here tonight, present it, see if we could get some buy-in, and then discuss, how far you wanted to go with permitting. So Evan can can talk about the fees as they are. I can kind of segue it, So we carry a budget in the development fees. We're carrying some for local permitting, and we're also carrying some for third-party review. This is a large enough development, it's going to get kicked off to third-party review, which of course is the burden of the developer. The permits that are on the side, similar to what the Pine Street proposal was, is basically just a check that gets cut to the town for local permitting, which is on top of the third-party review, which is doing the bulk of the work. Now, the department here will have some work. But it becomes, the third party is, kind of does everything. So we're looking to, get as much of the permit fee waived as we possibly can. I know what we have proposed, but, what we're looking for is $150,000-$200,000, somewhere around there to come back.
Reduction?
Yes,
Based on on the full permit.
that's right.
Okay.
Should be about a $27 million project. I'm guessing as soon as they break ground, it's gonna approach a little bit higher than that. But, that remains to be seen. So it has to go through the special permit process soon, which I don't think will impact it greatly because it's a special permit process. So most of the zoning is already in place and they're just gonna adhere to it and they're cognizant of those things. So,
Okay. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Bruce, I don't have a problem with reducing the permit fees, but I want to do it just like we did Pine Street. And what we did at Pine Street is we reduced the permit fees, but it was based on an audit at the end of the project, where we get 50 cents on the dollar, I can't remember what it was, for anything over. So if it was $26 million, the project came in at $32 million, we get a portion of that. And then, I think that's fair.
the language for that is in place. So how the trust is approaching it now is we're underwriting the grant essentially, which is either gonna be a mortgage or just an escrow grant that we're gonna provide to them over a period of time. So what we're gonna do is anything that comes from the municipal side of things, we're gonna reduce the amount that we're granting them. So this is something that the language, cause there's three parties, the trust is working as its own kind of enterprise account, so to speak, its own municipality. So what we would try to do is make sure that any language that we come up with, all three parties agree on it, and it makes its way back to the trust by basically remaining in the trust's funds. And we reduce the 1.8 million. If you guys give us 150K back, it would reduce it to 1.65. So it just essentially wouldn't come out of our account. But we just need to coordinate because the language needs to incorporate all the parties' wishes. So,
Okay.
which shouldn't be an issue. I mean, GSX, they did Pine Street, so they're very familiar with it.
Yeah.
So when you're saying the 150, then what I read was going from 266 to 125. Is that correct?
That's what we.
It's a projection.
Okay.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they project, I think it was 26.6 million as their building costs, but as Ray said, after
Right.
everything's done, it likely will not be that on the dot.
What we really wanted to put together was just something that's a format that we can digest and start talking about, as opposed to you guys proposing something coming back to us. So we as a trust just kind of put it together. We wanted to get here. We're not looking for a vote tonight. We're just looking to put it there in front of you, so we have something to digest, so to speak.
I think you had mentioned that GSX needs to actually request
They
this.
did.
Okay.
And they did, yeah. I received the letter from GSX requesting the fee reduction. One thing I'd like to note is, so we did it a little differently with 8 Pine than what your letter requests. So your letter requests a cap of 125, and we did 8 Pine. We reduced the fee from $10 per thousand to $5 per thousand, and we set a minimum fee in there. Just a little bit different. You're looking for a ceiling, and we picked the floor, and then we created a deal where the town of Grafton is then entitled for $5 per thousand of the as-built construction costs.
The rub for this, Ray, is we're covering a lot of the soft costs of this project. We're making it very economical for them. We're building in some surety to make sure the project gets going, because we're really committed to actually developing those units. So, whatever mechanic anybody wants to use, as long as we can paper it properly, we're looking for, 100, 150, 200,000. We're looking for something sustainable that comes back to us. Because if not, we're just basically taking the trust money per unit and giving you guys the permit fees for them, which is not something that typically we really want to be doing.
So are you okay with this, with the $5 per thousand that we used at 8 Pine Street, or is that
As
gonna
long
be
as,
an issue if it goes over by $10 million?
well, I mean, fair enough. as long as we get the 150, we're comfortable with it.
Oh, okay.
If the construction costs, I mean, this is a preliminary conversation, so, that puts us in the right wheelhouse. If you guys can give more, we would certainly love more. If you can't, can't. If we get to find a middle ground, that's fine too, so.
Okay.
How you guys word it, that's fine with us.
But we don't need to take any action authorizing you to word this or work with the trust or anything like that, or?
It would be good if you did, cause then I could get moving if the board has an opinion.
Yeah.
It'd be good to just get that off our plate.
Okay. And so you guys don't have to come back and get on another agenda?
We were essentially making sure we weren't getting a hard no.
So I don't think you were
Yeah, I
gonna do
don't-
that.
The other,
I didn't anticipate that either, but we had to start the conversation somewhere.
the other thing that the board may consider is you still do your $5, per thousand, and set a cap so that the Affordable Housing Trust knows with some surety where they're gonna end up. Their projected 125,000, I don't think is unreasonable for the amount of work that we're gonna do. As a town administrator, I always look at that, cause that's my free cash / capital plan
Yeah,
driver.
it is, yeah.
And so, we're getting something that we can then mold into something else. And the trust is able to get some money back into their coffers, so, or keep money in your coffers. So, I mean, at a $125,000 cap, I mean, I think it's reasonable. I also met with Mr. Berger, who thought it was a reasonable, ask as well. Something that we could live with or work with.
No, I agree with that, and I think we should take action tonight so that it gets the ball moving, so you guys don't get slowed up in any way. Is the board comfortable with that?
It overlap, whether you get it tonight or the next week if you wanna think about it some more. If you can give us the direction, we're in the process of kind of going through the grants, and, finer detail. This is gonna be a piece of that, so. The sooner, I guess, we can get to an actual number, so Eric and I can go back to the trust and say, yes, we're gonna get this back from local permanent.
I wouldn't mind another week just to digest it. I don't think I'm not gonna, vote against giving you something, obviously, but I wouldn't mind learning more about the Pine Street, what that deal exactly looked like, and just looking at the numbers. Just me personally, but if the rest of you.
We are meeting next week, so we can easily just put it back on the
Yeah.
agenda, and it won't trip you up any if we wait a week, right?
I don't believe so, no.
That'd be great, thanks.
Yeah, we can. put
So
it back
if
on.
it went over 20%, it'd be an extra 26 grand. So a 2-year project is bound to go over 20%. Usually 20 to 25 in that that time frame. So you're talking 25 to 30 grand.
Personally, I like the cap idea in this situation, because it is slightly different than 8 Pine. So 8 Pine, we're reducing the fee essentially so that the developer makes their nut.
Yeah.
In this case, the only benefactor to us reducing the fee is the Affordable Housing Trust. So it is a different, it's a different flavor than what we were dealing with last time, which I think should be noted.
I guess the only tricky part I have with, if there is a sizable increase and goes beyond the contingencies that are already there, in the pro forma, that kind of comes almost directly out of our pocket, so to speak. What I would like to do is go back to the trust and say, this is our fixed amount that we're spending on the grant. And we're reducing it by X amount of dollars. So, if we can, the cap does that for us, but.
Yeah, exactly. It gives the cost certainty.
So,
And the cap is 125.
Right.
That's what we're talking about, because you're saying this 150 number, which is
Yeah.
also tripping me
So-
up, because it's from 266 to
So
125.
essentially, yeah, so take the other piece out of it.
Okay.
So, essentially what's happening is, you caught the piece about third-party review?
Yep.
So, they're gonna do the bulk of
I
the
know,
work.
yeah.
We do our set inspections.
Yep.
So when we were doing 8 Pine Street, we reduced it basically by 50%. The building permit
Mm-hmm.
fee that's separate from the third-party cost, because it seemed exorbitant for the amount of work we were
Yeah.
doing. This is similar. The major difference is instead of setting a minimum fee like we did at 8 Pine, because we want to make sure that we get a certain amount of money for the town to then put into our capital plan and fund all that. Because the benefactor is going to be the Affordable Housing Trust, that's why we're looking at, we would just cap it, so they do not pay more than $125,000 in permit fee, no matter what happens above that, so that all of that benefit goes to the Affordable Housing Trust and keeping more of that money in their coffers.
I guess, right, from your perspective, if you were to take that number that we're talking about now, and say, you know, it goes up by an exorbitant amount of money, and construction costs go out of control, and it's gonna require that the town put resources into this, which I don't see it ever going past 125 from here. I mean, third-party review is gonna climb astronomically in those particular situations anyways, but we're already covering that, and you can't remediate that at all, so. This is a special particular case, and I think in the future, as we're looking at other projects and stuff like that, you can, you know, go your own way. But if we're looking at, you know, overlay districts, they're not simplistic by design, but they kind of are. So when you're talking about a 40R and you have, you know, statute backing up how you conduct business and how things get handled, when we're doing this kind of on our own in this particular case, it puts a lot of demand on outside resources to figure out to make sure we're doing it right. So it could be something to look at if you're looking at, you know, going further down Upton Street with the overlay, especially taking advantage of the market the way it is, for future opportunity. And I know you have another one that's going down the street from that, but looking in that, putting it in the special permit process, it might take another look at the complexity of the overlay. Build in the 25% by right, you know, by right, essentially, and then making sure that all the instruments are in place to handle this, similar to how you would a 40R. So.
Okay.
Just want to talk about anything else?
No,
I always want to talk about stuff, but no.
I love talking to you, Bruce, but you talk way too much.
I do. I get out like once a week. Chat.
This is it.
So.
All right, so that sounds good. So we'll bring it back next week.
Yeah.
Okay, and then hopefully get you guys some information then.
That's brilliant.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
in. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the annual appointment swearing in process with the town clerk. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it tonight. She was here the last time when we had technical difficulties, so we're just gonna pass over that tonight and move on to resignation. And we have a resignation, and I can take a motion for that.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the resignation of Andy Jefferson from the Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Make his own motion.
He's the clerk.
Oh, he's the
He's the
clerk,
clerk, and you
that's
said you were gonna help.
Nobody listens.
Yeah, this would just be a,
Yeah,
yeah, no motion.
it's fine because you don't even have to do this.
No, you don't.
I'm trying to get you guys to stop.
Oh,
Just
perfect.
keep
Well, let's stop doing it. Why are we doing it then?
Don't
I
stop.
don't know.
Madam Chair.
Well, we're
Literally a year. What are you gonna do if they don't resign? If you say no,
Well, we
they
have,
have to stay on finance.
you know what?
Forever.
You know
No,
what?
that's not how the world
We
works.
have a new chair. She's kind of rookie-ish.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
super
you know,
rookie-ish.
We'll just pull the wool right over our eyes.
Yeah.
It's gone.
All right. So do you want to withdraw your motion?
Sure. I'll
Okay.
withdraw my motion.
Withdraw your second?
Yep.
Awesome. Moving
so you're
on.
not getting the letter, Andy.
No.
I'll still send you the card.
All right.
You did get
Because
the
what was
pen.
the point of all this if I don't get the letter?
Right.
It's
Thank
like
you
you
for
never
your service.
served. Okay, but we do have an appointment of an election worker.
So you gotta make a motion on that.
Scrolling.
I move that the board vote to approve, the appointment of Catherine Deary as an election worker for the term to expire June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Congratulations, Catherine. And then we have some town administrator appointments.
Yep. So you should have two, both for. Whoops. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page here. Both for the assessor's office. There is. Sorry. The office manager position, which I have appointed Megan. It's in here. Megan Lavoie. Sorry, I drew a total blank on that. Megan Lavoie as the department assistant to the assessor's office, and I also appointed Todd Bernard as the data collector for the assessor's office.
Very nice.
which then completes the office. We're back to full staff.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I can take a motion.
I
Can we
move.
do it in one or?
You can do it in one.
Oh, okay. All right. I move the board. Let's try that again. I move the board vote to affirm the appointment of Megan Lavoy as Department Assistant to the Assessor's Office and Todd Bernard as Data Collector in the Assessor's Office.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Congratulations and welcome to Grafton. All right, next up we have the Grafton Police Union contract. You guys should have a copy of that in front of you, and Evan will tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. Yes, please. So you have a draft of the MOU, MOA in front of you. But I also put together a single slide for PowerPoint just to give you kind of the high level. There's some housekeeping in there, which I don't think is of much interest. So what did we do this round? So we increased the clothing allowance and put in place a new practice. So basically all of the officers will be going to a single vendor, and they will not receive let's say a check for their clothing allowance. They have money on account that the town then pays directly. We also added some allowance in there for suits for court and some other minor tweaks. But what winds up happening a lot of times is when you have officers that have been on the force for a while, you know they don't need BDUs every year, or as many, let's put it that way. So being able to supply them with the clothes they need to go to court is important as well. We shifted everyone over to direct deposit with this, which is great. That's been a big push for us. We're down to just a few holdouts that we're getting off the rolls. Major portion of the conversation revolved around the sick bank. So we've put in place a new sick bank procedure that now has different limits on the amount of hours that you can bank over time. But it also, in my opinion, is the important piece is that we put in place an advisory board over the sick bank that now includes 2 union officers and 2 people appointed by me, so that you have PD and town input, which I think helps with the accounting and kind of that secondary oversight when hours are awarded. Salary is always a big part of the conversation, so it's not as clean as it has been in years past because we did do our salary study. But essentially what it boils down to is 2% a year plus the salary study correction. It winds up being like 2.2%, 2.3%, depending on the year, just the way the math rolls out. But that's essentially what it wound up being. And we also were much more aggressive with the educational incentives. And we are up to 5,000 for an associate, 7,000 for a bachelor's, and 9,000 for a master's. That was also tiered in the past between patrol and sergeants. We did away with the tiering, which we think makes us more competitive when we're trying to hire new officers. That's really something we have to focus on to keep up with the surrounding communities. Those are really the big bites of what's in this
Okay.
MOA.
Do you guys have any questions?
Let me-
Right. So I can take.
So I would like to ask that you vote to allow me to sign said MOA. That would be helpful.
Okay. Can I take a motion to that effect?
Sure. I don't want to do it.
Vote to appoint.
I move to,
Say
You
so.
don't want to do it?
So moved.
I move to allow the town administrator to sign the MOA as written.
Thank you.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Declare the motion carried. Awesome. All right, select board reports. So I think Anne Marie had something she wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that I went to an Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Ellie McDonald last week. It was at the Grafton Public Library in the community room, and she did it there because she's done a lot of volunteer work there. And I just wanted to congratulate her, and I think it's fabulous. She is the first female Eagle Scout in town. So this is Troop 2019, which I think was formed just a few years ago. So she really fast-tracked this, and it was a pleasure to be there.
That was the girl who did the trail, right?
No, that's coming up next.
Oh, that's coming up
Yeah.
next. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that one is in July, actually.
Oh,
That's Cassie.
Yeah, she was there as well with her dad. Yep. And I enjoyed going. My son went this route, so he's an Eagle Scout, and so I completely understand what it took for her to do this. So it's great. So congratulations to Ellie McDonald.
Very nice. Yes, congratulations.
Any other reports?
on EDC, I have asked for a meeting to be scheduled so that we can set up a regular meeting schedule.
Nice.
So that's in the works.
Perfect. Alright. I attended the Memorial Day celebration yesterday, both at Sampson Square and on the Common, and it was wonderful, and thank you to everybody who put that on. It was great. Okay, town administrator reports.
There you go.
Lovely. Okay, can we go? Okay, so budget update. Obviously, we're past the budget process. We made it through town meeting. We're working pretty diligently on closing the end of year, which means focusing on getting to July 1 with the money that we have left in the accounts. I did reach out to all the department heads and ask them to pay really close attention to all of their purchasing. We have a greatly reduced purchasing power between inflation and rising energy costs. So all purchases are vetted by me before the PO process goes on. Which usually I just get the PO, review it, and trust that the department head is doing what they're supposed to do. But we're really slowing that down just a little bit and make sure we have the money. So we've also been working pretty hard on forecasting. We have two different forecasting models that we're working with. One is through something we had already started with a different consultant, and one is through the schools working with their consultants so that we have a little bit of comparison. We're about, I think in my estimation, 80% complete. The last 20% will take us a little while because there's a lot of nuance in that 20% because we're projecting out restaurant revenues and motor vehicle excise tax and things like that we get to play with all those numbers, but it just can't be arbitrary. So we're working our way through that. Am I done with that slide? Okay, I'm done with that slide.
You found it done?
He was 80% complete.
Yeah, yeah.
We're back there now. If you'd like to.
So now I'd like to welcome Chief Canoyer.
Yeah.
There he is, the man himself.
There he is. Thank God.
Yes.
30 days and counting. But
And who's counting?
Other than me and my wife. So I'm here to do the fire department update as part of Evan's thing. Hopefully this will be the final time I am in this seat giving this update. Next thing will be like tree requests and things like that. I'll try to stay away from the things we've talked about ad nauseum over the last 6 months, 5 months. But one of the things I wanted to just bring up was part of getting the fire program software working efficiently. It allowed us to, meet today to go in and say that since January 1st, 151 days into the year, we've had 251 calls. With an average of 8.5 firefighters per call, which is great. It also puts us on pace for about 600 calls for the year, which is it's a lot with everything else we've been doing. It's just a tremendous amount of time that people, that's just the call. That's not, if it's 2, 3, 4, 5 hour call, that doesn't include any of that. That's just the basic call. In addition to all those calls, everybody's had to do 12 hours of mandatory first responder recertification training. We've also held 4 hours of training in first due tactics and strategy to kind of give everybody you all know what to do, take a step back, breathe. This is what you need to do if you're the first guy on scene. We did 4 hours of hose-lined advancing and deployment just based on staffing, and not just in Grafton, but countrywide. You used to go out with 6 people on an engine, now you're going out with, 4 or 5, and just the tactics change on how you deploy that line and how you advance it through a building. We also did 4 hours of vehicle extrication training, which was during one of your meetings when I was there. And in those trainings, we've had at least 30 people at each training, which is about 70% of our department, which is great. It just, shows the dedication of those people. So in addition to all those calls, there's been those trainings, and we've also participated in trainings around the county in different, tanker shuttles and rural water supply, and things of those effect. We've all heard about the IT between the fire programs, tablets, I Am Responding, and the different apps we've had. There's also a group of guys working on SOPs. So to date, they've got 8 complete, which is, again, it's time, not counting calls and training and everything else that they've taken time to do. I met with Ginny last week. I'm going to send them to her for her legal review. They've been peer reviewed by us. We're kind of copying other people's, the stuff we developed in the 90s here, and then just gathered SOPs from other communities around. So those go into legal next week. Looks like a lot, but it's not. In January, one of the first things we did was we did a general assembly, which was just to get everybody in tune with where we wanted to be between January and June 30th. And one of those things was to have other firefighters trained in doing inspections, the simple 1 and 2 family home inspections that take a lot of Mike's time, and we're not using his skills to the best that the best. His skills not being utilized as well as they should be. So we've had 6 firefighters take the Department of Fire Services inspection class, me being one of those 6, and then we rode with Mike on several different inspections. He came up with a great 80-page document that you take with you if you have any questions. So it's freed him up to do a lot of other work that needs to get done that we're certainly lacking. So that's worked out well. We moved money at the town meeting to replace in 2017. We did an audit of the vehicle fleet. And we lost our all-wheel drive brush units as a result of that audit. So there was some money set aside to try and get a surplus equipment from the Army or something. The trucks are too big. We never could actually find one that was of really any value. So we had $100,000 from that already. Then we moved some money at town meeting to get us to a point where we've got a rough cost of what an all-wheel drive brush vehicle will get us. So we've got a group dedicated to getting that truck going. We met with 2 different vendors already. The second vendor we met with today. So moving forward with that. The hard thing with that's going to be just getting the truck. A Ford F550 is 18 months out if you ordered it today. So it'll be a supply chain issue. Also at town meeting, we requested $200,000 for Station 2 renovation. We were given $100,000 in capital improvements. So we've got a group together to work on that. Be myself, the deputy chief, Ray, Bob Rodak, and Bob Egan, the captain of Station 2, to just prioritize that money. What's the, step one, and so it's a good group of people with a lot of different knowledge. So we'll get moving on that as soon as possible. It was supposed to be last week. Then
As soon as Bob gets back from Vegas.
and then Bob's Rodak's on vacation. So, but the future needs for the department, honestly, that are going to be other than equipment, and I mean equipment, I mean the trucks, but the radios in the town are horrendous. They've been horrendous the whole time I've been on this department. But everything else, they cost more money. A portable now costs $7,000. So, and everybody needs a portable. So we need to, base radios, repeaters, vehicle radios, vehicle repeaters, they're all old, and they're all the funding needs to be found someplace, whether it's grants, ARPA money. I did put something in the ARPA queue for portables, but it's a big expense that we need to really keep in the back of our minds. And obviously recruitment and retention, which is not just a Grafton issue. It's a national issue. It's not to say this is, we're not alone in that. It's a busy, for example, and I'll Brian Gasco, who was the chief in Millbury for less time than I've been here. He's been was on Millbury 5 for 35 years. He's like, I can't do this job. There's so much to do because Millbury's a call chief as well. It's the fire service. It's a real busy time. So recruitment, retention, and getting those people and having enough people so some people don't have to show up to every call and do everything. So, but we're working on that. So, and down my list. So I'll end it with, I'm proud of everything we've done since January. We, you guys weren't here in November. Thank you for, supporting our plan that we put forward. Eric and I worked hard through November and December to come up with a plan that we thought was attainable and really sustainable for people. And I will tell you that we did the training on hose advancement and everything 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday night. And by the time we were done, people were like, we need a break because it's just a lot of time for people. We've done a lot of work. Everybody, if they weren't part of a group or a team doing something, supported the rest of the organization. And people have done things, and I won't mention people by name, done things that I never thought would ever happen. And 2 weeks ago, somebody said something over the radio, and I was like, hallelujah. It's taken 41 years, but they finally said it. And people at home can say, well, let's see who that is. But people have done a lot and participated and realized that if we're going to go to this next level, they need to be part of it. And that they've supported it, and hopefully, we can keep it going. That's the goal anyway. I know there was doubts, people submitted letters to you guys back in the fall that got read into the minutes. We should hire an outside person to be the interim chief. We should do this, we should do that. And I thank you for supporting us in our plan, because I think it was the best choice for the time, and it definitely, it wasn't something, so anyway. Any questions for me before I will
Can we
leave
see
you
the
with?
recruitment video?
Yeah, we have, so before, don't play. So I want to thank,
Don't tell me what to do.
as you think it's over if you don't. But I want to thank, Bill and Jack and Bob, because, I said to everybody when we started doing the video, it's like, just trust the process, because we have no idea. They're going to tell us to do things. We're going to say why, and just, so we trusted them. It's, you guys have made videos, for elections and for other things, and that's the filming part, but the rest of it, I wouldn't even want to do. So Bill's gone back and forth with a couple guys, a gazillion times, just editing this and coming up with different things to put in it. It's a ton of work, and I can't thank them enough, because it really was, they did a great job for us, and they were very supportive, and their enthusiasm is contagious. So it was funny. So I want to thank those guys, and hit it.
If you were ready a second ago, now it's gonna take me a moment. You scared me away from the computer.
Well, that's good. It's not James Venacasa either. It's not part of our video.
Remember to share sound?
You gotta turn it like all the way up too.
Everybody's got input for you there, Will.
I'm gonna turn it all the way up. And no, we're not gonna do that. How do you share sound? I've never had to do
He
that
just
before.
gets everything.
He said he was on
Got
set
it.
too.
Got it.
It's share sound. See that?
Yep.
Okay.
It's in top.
You're making them all nervous, Paul.
Figured it out. Well, the chief's here. Of course I'm nervous.
All companies, please respond to 7 East Street for the reported car fire extended into a garage. Again, all companies, please respond to 7 East Street for the car fire attached to the garage on fire. Fire alarm cleared, 1622.
Grafton Fire Department is seeking motivated individuals to join the on-call fire department. Would you like to be part of the tradition? Part of the excitement? Part of our family and help serve your community? Will you answer the call?
Is that Jamie?
So it doesn't jump. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you play it again, it doesn't jump. It's like low.
Well, it's through, if we're sharing it through Zoom, so it's
Oh,
always,
okay.
gonna-
So
it doesn't matter what we do.
Yeah. So they can explain anyway. So, yeah, it's Jamie O'Brien did the narration. You know, it's funny because it's, you know, Bob DeToma wanted to do it. You know, he's got to get his voice and everything. But I was like, you know, we got the perfect guy for it. Who's, you know, has a voice to, you know.
Who's the
a vo-
baby you're holding?
It's Chris Blessing.
Just some random baby.
I was like, I noticed.
Chris Blessing's
That was
daughter.
the first comment Will and I had. Who gave the cat a baby?
It was, you know, kids love it. So,
True.
but anyway, so we'll put that back out. So our goal was, you know, that'll be out there. Obviously, somebody much more tech savvy than me will have to put that someplace wherever those
I
things
don't know.
go.
You were coaching Will pretty good a minute ago.
And then, you know, we will also, you know, we're going to put that job posting up, you know, quarterly will be our goal for that. We've got 5 people since January, 5 additional people, which has been great because, you know, we're going to lose 4 people in the next year, just through age. So, if we can keep getting some decent, you know, qualified people who are willing to put, it's the training that's the time, is putting that 280 hours in originally is the big hurdle. So, so that's that video. I know it's been a long time coming, but it's just everything, you know, bad things in life happen pretty quick, but good things take a long time. So it's, you know, we're getting there. So
Nice.
anyway,
Well, thank you for coming in. Lots of great information and a lot of hard work you guys have been doing, so thank you for that. Do you guys have any other questions or comments for the chief?
No, great job. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, that video came out awesome.
Yeah.
Really,
It's
really.
on
it's all,
YouTube.
it's all those guys. So
Yep. Bill in the booth.
Bill in the booth.
That's right.
So
Thank God Bill's back. We couldn't even get on the air last week.
Bill can't take Tuesdays
well,
anymore.
that's why we couldn't get the video. Either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Thank
Lay
you.
'em out.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Ray, I'll see you next week, hopefully.
Yes.
All right, and that's the end of the town administrator report?
Yep.
Okay. If you guys are okay, I wanted to move correspondence into a different part of the meeting anyway, so can we just put that just before public comment and move right into discussion items? Is everybody okay with that?
Sure.
Great, okay, so next up we have the local initiative, negotiation overview, so Evan's just gonna kinda tackle that and give us, just kinda onboard some of the new members and where we are with the LIP process and.
Share it up to there. Yeah, that's it. That's what right there. Good. Click that. Yeah. Okay. Good. Um.
Can you bring Paul back, or are you okay?
Yeah. You want to share audio? No? Okay. Anyways, so just a real quick overview for our new members, but also to kind of do it again.
It's easy for you to.
Yeah, that was a rough one. I was gonna go for the third time, and I'm like, it's just not gonna come out right. So my first sentence doesn't make any sense. So
That's the if.
I know it's supposed to be if. You did send me that note and say you put is in there. So anyways, we have to decide if the first step is to decide if the select board even wants to pursue a LIP negotiation. So you're going to hear a proposal. We've heard 3 in the past, say 3 months. And you're going to have to decide whether or not you feel the project is beneficial for the town of Grafton. From a number of standpoints, right? You've got your aesthetics, you've got your neighborhood, you've got revenue, cost on infrastructure impact, things like that. And so the next step, as we've been doing it, and hopefully we're going to get a little bit smoother at this, is to assign a select board rep, which for the Eastland projects you heard, we already did that at the 510 meeting. That was Matt often. And then you're going to go in to negotiate the wish list, as some people call it. The negotiating is done by staff rep and the select board. And again, you're going to be looking at things as far as local impact infrastructure, et cetera. One of the things that I saw during the last process that I would like to key in on is that I really think that your staff here you have a depth of talent with your staff that know a lot about what's going on in Grafton. And I think that, the board could lean a little bit more on their staff as far as who you have for expertise out there, with your planning, water, sewer, these people know what they're doing and where you need to focus, as far as your impacts go. And then the select board rep and the staff will bring the best negotiated offer back to the select board for consideration. And then you would issue your letter to proceed, basically. The other thing that I just wanted to keep in everybody's mind is that you have to remain cognizant that there is going to be a ZBA process. There are ZBA public hearings, and that the ZBA is going to have a large impact on the outcome of that development. So the board will likely have, they'll get pulled towards things that are probably better served in the bailiwick of the zoning board. So we just need to keep in mind while we're doing our negotiations that some of this stuff is going to flesh out later when you get to the ZBA, and focus on, that wish list that you can bring back. One of the things that, when I've been looking around at other communities, that I think is beneficial is, we know that there's an impact, and we know that there's going to be an impact to infrastructure. It's not always apparent right at the beginning what that impact is going to be. And so what a lot of communities do is, instead of saying, build that streetlight, they monetize that and take the money and put it into a stabilization account for future use, so that either you can take care of that impact right there, or you might have a better funding source for that and then shift that money somewhere else. So that's something just to keep in mind. So that's really the 35,000 foot kind of overview of what we've been working on. And we wanted to just briefly touch upon that before you got to your next agenda item.
Just for Anne Marie and Andy's benefit, Matt is now going to be at the part where he's bringing back considerations for us next week with Eastland. And then tonight, where we are with Snow Road, and the next agenda item is to be kind of assigning a rep if we want to move forward with the project.
Is this discussion time the appropriate time to bring up like density concerns and things like that, or is that something that comes later? And we more or less open for discussion at first and then go into that.
So I think that when you hear a proposal, what would be greatly beneficial, which I think we've been lacking a little bit, is for the board to then have a discussion about their general concerns, like density, impacts to the community, things that they've heard from constituents, things like that, so that we can then take that back to our conversation when we're in the negotiation phase. It would be really good to get that guidance, I think, here and publicly of how best to proceed. Again, if it doesn't, and it doesn't have to be finite. If it's, we're going to put 500 units here, and you're like, whoa, that's a lot of density. That's enough. You don't have to say, I think it should be, this many units on this acreage. We can take that back and let our planner and building department say, hey, we need to negotiate maybe some decreased density here. How do we do that? And how do we work with the developer to get there? It's really, what are the board's overarching goals that you want us to, because I honestly, we don't, I say this in a maybe less tactful way. We don't need you to tell us, that you need a street light. Like the police and the planning department, they're going to know that, and that's part of our conversation. We need and your select board rep, to be honest with you, we're all gonna work together to do that. But it would be great to have more of that holistic approach of, that's a lot of density, or I'm worried about public safety in this area. Can you make sure that we're addressing that? I think those would be, those kind of discussions would be very helpful to us once we go back to the developer and negotiate.
Okay.
Yep.
You guys have any questions? No. Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay.
Up next is lip discussion 14 Snow Row. We have Mr. Venacasa here. How are you, Mr. Venacasa?
Good, how you doing? Hello, James Benincasa, Stephen Benincasa. And then the other James Benincasa is Lou Levine, the attorney. And I believe the last James Benincasa is John Grenier, the engineer.
Madam Chairman, if I may, this is a LIP proposal, and the town administrator's overview, he said it was at 35,000 feet. I would say it was more like at 100 feet. It was very accurate, and in terms of what the process is in Grafton or in any other town. We have a LIP proposal tonight. I'm not going to repeat the methodology because I agree with town administrator's overview. The decision is whether or not the selectmen ultimately want to support the project, which may be as a result of negotiation, both as to infrastructure issues and aspects of the project. We understand that you're in safe harbor, which gives you an opportunity to pick and choose. So that being said, John Grenier is the third musketeer, the third Jim Benincasa. So he is the engineer, and he is going to just overview very briefly the project on Snow Road. And then I'll have a few comments, and it's really up to the board. John?
Thank you. Jim, do you have the plan there?
Yes, so hang on 1 second.
Can they share screen?
If they can, they will be able to shortly.
Does the board have that by any chance there that they can share?
You are able to share your screen now.
Sorry about that. How do I share the screen?
So on the bottom, there should be a green box that says share screen. You click that and then tell it which screen you wanna, what document you wanna put up.
Oh. Does that work?
It's thinking.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so a quick overview just for location. This site obviously is on Snow Road. On the left of the site plan, that is the plaza that is on 140 that has the Stop and Shop. Then there's it's not shown on the screen, but closer to Snow Road, there's also the bank location. So this abuts that. There is open space that is town-owned land. That's just that would be to the south side of the plan at the bottom side. And what we are proposing is about a 15-acre site. And what we are proposing are 4 apartment-style buildings that would have 64 units each. And then there would be a mix of 4plexes, and I think there's a couple of 5plexes and a 3plex. Townhouse-style units that there's a total of 44 units associated for townhouse style. In the design of this, what we did was try to put the buildings to the perimeter, and that allowed us to have a quad area. There's a a community building, a clubhouse that would be centered when you pull in a boulevard style driveway entering. And then just beyond that, we'd have a big green area, quad style, so we could have a number of amenities that would service the community. We have adequate parking for all of the units. There would be attached garages for the townhouse style units with parking in front. And then there would be parking in the front and the sides of the apartment style units. And I believe, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're at, is it 1.7 parking spaces per unit so based on other projects that we've been involved in and built out, this is more than adequate parking, we believe, for the types of units. It would be a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. So we have a mix of units. I think the majority would be 1 and 2s, with I think 10% would be 3 bedrooms. And I believe that's in accordance with state regulations for this type of project. We do have adequate area on the bottom left, or I'm sorry, in the bottom right of the site plan. We have area for drainage associated with the project. And there is some green open space at the rear portion in the bottom. That there are some habitat for turtles, and we've gone through the process with Natural Heritage. And so the open space is within buffer zones for some endangered species. So we've already addressed that with Natural Heritage. We have a layout that we believe works well. And we've really accounted for all of the infrastructure. This would be serviced also by municipal sewer and water. We have all of the plans for the infrastructure for sewer and water and Snow Road, which we would extend into the site to service all of the various structures. So that's my 10,000 foot overview. I'm sure you have questions, comments, and if you want to add anything in, please feel free.
Thank you very much for that. All right, we'll just open up. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
I do. What's the lot coverage?
We haven't calculated that, so I don't want to guess at it. But
It's more than 25%, correct?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. The 64 residential unit buildings, what's the building height on those?
Steve, are those
4 stories?
4 stories?
4 stories, 55 feet?
Approximately.
Is there really a need to put 300 units on this piece of property?
In general, I'd say obviously we all know that there's a huge need for housing, especially affordable housing. We think it's a good location. It's in good proximity to things like Stop and Shop, the bank, good access, good highway access. It's right 40. So we think it's a good location. In fact, the town, the housing authority has a project that is kind of diagonal across the street, a little closer to 140 than this. So we think it's a good location. And again, we wouldn't be proposing something like this unless we thought there was a need for it.
I think the process the town administrator outlined will get into whether the density is appropriate, both from a structural standpoint and I use the word pragmatically, a political standpoint. Those are things that, typically are discussed with developer and town staff. I mean, a lot of times it's driven by concerns, and I'm not saying they exist here, as to, stormwater, things like that, adequate, access for emergency vehicles. So these are all issues that we're willing to discuss and address in the town. As to the number of 300, again, it's an attempt to utilize the site, and if it supports the 300, we would ask you to support it. If you feel it supports a different number, we would be happy to discuss it with the town. I mean, the idea of a LIP project, and I give credit to the town administrator, it's been used as the pseudonym of, quote, a friendly 40B. I've been doing 40Bs for a long, long time, and there are not a lot of, quote, friendly 40Bs, overall. The only difference is the LIP project goes to DHCD, a not LIP project goes to something like mass housing. The process is somewhat identical. Town has less of a say in it if it's a mass housing project, but does have a say in it. So we're trying to craft a project when we approach a town, and I always recommend to all my clients that they always go forward and ask the town if they want to consider their project a project as a LIP project, because I just want to get the feedback from the town as soon as possible. Not try to hide anything, and the town doesn't want to do it as a LIP, then you can always proceed if you wish to mass housing. So that's really things as to number of units it can support. If there are issues in the number of units, again, those are all things to put on the table. And the number of units, affects two things always. This is a rental project, so all these units will go on your SHI 100%, even though it's only 25% affordable. And it also, the more units, the more negotiating power the town has, for requests for, concerns relative to infrastructure, and other mitigation issues about the project or even in town general.
So what you did here is you maxed out this piece of property and you put 300 units on it in the hopes of negotiating a different number?
No, not at all. Not at all, sir. If what I said was we designed a project that on a piece of land that supports 300 units. And sometimes, given the circumstances of the property, topography, wetlands, all other kinds of constraints, size in particular, it's a dictation of a lower number. What you said to me, if you have concerns, you being the town, and again, I rely on the town administrator's overview to you, and he mentioned it in his outline before we spoke, is if you have concerns about density, we think the density is appropriate, but this is supposed to be a friendly 40B, and so if you have concerns about density, we're willing to discuss them with you and indicate why we think 300 is appropriate. That's all I was saying. This is not a take it or leave it situation. You do have input right now, with the applicant to kind of craft the project in a way that, you would find it to be acceptable for the board. And I don't think there's one column, as the town administrator said, that fills all those answers, meaning you can talk about infrastructure, which sometimes towns just focus on. You can talk about changes to the layout of the project. You can talk about anything is open on the table. Again, the developer can say, I don't think that's correct, or kick back, or he can try and work with it, or give you a good reason why it's not a good idea to change something. So we designed a project that we believe is a good project, with 300 units as designed. All I'm saying is we're trying to work with any town and to craft a project that the selectmen are willing to support. That's it.
Thank you.
I just have one more question.
Do you want to check if anybody else wants a question?
Oh, well, let me just finish, then I'll shut up. Have you discussed this project with District 3, Mass DOT?
No.
No, we have not.
No. Okay. I'm
Do you guys have any questions or concerns that can be negotiated later?
I mean, I can come out with concerns. I don't really have any questions at this point.
Okay.
I think I'd be concerned about the 4 stories that those tend to be large for the Grafton skyline, which seems to be a concern for a lot of people, and especially with the grade on that hill kind of going up in the start there. I think the larger buildings are just going to kind of loom over that plaza there. Just not offering judgment, just pointing that out. And I also have some pretty big, I think, infrastructure concerns. I don't know offhand what the water and sewer condition is over there, and adding 300 units seems to be a sizable increase, and possibly something that could really need some addressing over there. But more so, I think roadways. Snow Road is not a great road. The intersection down at 140 there is already, I think, problematic and prone to traffic, and adding the associated traffic that's going to come along with these units is another just really heavy burden on that area. I don't know what we do to alleviate that. Even I think everybody's first go-to is the traffic signal, and I'm not going to suggest any of those things because we're not at that. I don't know how that would help in that situation. Anyways, it's a tough spot. So those are my immediate concerns.
Okay, Anne Marie.
Similar concern with the density and the stories, 55 feet.
Okay. Yeah, those all mirror similar concerns of mine. It's it's great that it's 25% affordable, but yeah. So tonight we can appoint a select board representative to take this further and then come back with a presentation if you guys want. I would be in favor of doing that because I'd like to hear what that proposal could look like. I don't know how everybody else feels.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm comfortable with that.
Emery? Mm-hmm. All right, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
So close.
Andy,
You're gonna
get this a little
every
bit.
time.
You gotta say something.
I move that Ray Mead takes over as a negotiator on this, 14 Snow Road lip project proposal.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, declare the motion carried. All right, congratulations. Good luck to you.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you very much. We should contact town administrator to move forward.
Yep. Yeah, if you reach out to me, I can get everything coordinated.
Okay. All right, we thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too. And next up on the agenda is a 40B notice of intent to sell 4 Canton Court, Unit 27. Do you have no problem, any backstory on the Canton Court intent to sell? Just that it's
This is just standard procedure for anybody that wants to sell the 40B property. So it has to come through the select board for approval.
okay.
I haven't gotten anything from any department that has any objection to you approving that sale.
Okay.
And the sale of that is restricted.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Missed that part.
It's okay.
So I can take a motion?
I move that we approve Mariella's Tona's notice of intent to sell as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, declare the motion carried. Next up is the appointment policy. We keep tweaking it because we really want to get it solid. So the last thing we've tweaked on this one is we added an election worker exemption. So if you just go to the last page, the final line, there's just so many election workers that doing that in the annual appointment process is just kind of a lot to expect them to come in and to do all of that. So we're just exempting election workers from this policy in general. You guys have any questions about that? All right, can I take a motion to accept this one?
Sure. I move to approve the updated appointments by select board policy.
Motion made and
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Declare the motion carried. And the last one is to review existing policies, open meeting law, and remote participation. So that was something Matt had asked to put on, especially concerning around open meeting law. There's been a lot of discussion about open meeting law, and so I know he's talked to the town clerk about that. And I know I've heard from people about remote participation. Why are some committees going back to just being all in person versus offering a Zoom or things of that nature? So just as a gentle reminder that open meeting law is a training's required when you are appointed on a board or a committee. The town is actually signed up to host an additional training, and as soon as that becomes available, we'll notify everybody to attend. And as far as the remote participation policy, we have it posted online, and that all boards and committees need to offer some form of remote participation. It doesn't have to be Zoom. It can be up to the chair. My personal preference is Zoom because it's easy, but it's up to the chair to offer some other alternative. Do you guys have any questions or input on any of that?
Nope.
Phenomenal. I guess not. All right. So again, if we hear about that training, Candy will let us know, and we can send that out to everybody. We took correspondence out of order. Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of the correspondence we received?
I would just like to, bring up Joanne Paget's,
Screenshot?
correspondence.
Yep.
And this has nothing to do with Joanne Paget, she just brought it up, and she sent a screenshot of something that a AHT member, Affordable Housing Trust member, posted somewhere. I'm not sure even where it is, but it's I'll see what Joanne said. She said, does this mean that all AHT in the select board, that the AHT and the select board will not be entertaining any 55 and older affordable housing projects in Grafton? It appears that what's written down here is that the AHT member thinks that older people won't be around them that much longer, so there's no need to listen to them. I think that AHT member should think about his position on the committee that he's on, and I would like to see him resign. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments about correspondence? I didn't know if you were raising your hand. Okay.
No.
So
Sorry.
I was too. I was like,
okay, so we did receive a correspondence from Jen Baca asking the select board to condemn white supremacy and write a resolution for Buffalo. And since that letter was written, we've had another horrible tragedy in this country, and I think it's pretty safe to say you guys all condemn white supremacy, I imagine. So I'll go on a limb and say that. And I don't know how to write a resolution every time a tragedy happens. It is awful, and I don't know how the board feels about that. So.
well, I think that national what is taking place for a long time and took place in Uvalde, Texas, was awful. And it's been proven that it can happen anywhere. But this board works with the town of Grafton, and I'm not sure that we should be, responding to national issues.
Any
That's
other
just my
thoughts or
plan.
concerns? Yeah, and I know on January 6th, when we were meeting that night, the board did speak on that. It was kind of still happening, and I think we all felt compelled to say something. But I tend to side with you. It's difficult to talk about national issues at this level, although I think national issues affect us. So it's trying to find that balance, and I don't know if I have the answer tonight for that. But does anybody else? Okay. All right. So I also moved public comment to the end of the meeting, and I think I liked the flow of that better. And the thought behind that was that everybody on the agenda, took the time to get on the agenda, and we were able to have those discussions, and it flowed nicely. And now is an opportunity for anybody who had a non-agenda item to come up and speak on Zoom or in person and say their piece in public comment.
I personally like having it at the end because
So do I.
as you saw, as you go, a lot of people are here for specific issues and they're able to speak to them at the time. It always feels disjointed when you do it at the beginning.
Yep.
And then it's 45 minutes later that what that person commented on is actually happening and things change, right? So I personally, I like the flow of having it towards the end.
And I like the flow of correspondence too, because your town administrator report flowed right into the lip, and it just, again, it would have been disjointed if we went into correspondence suddenly, and so if everybody's okay, we're gonna leave that, the agenda like that.
I think it gives the board a chance to talk through some of the issues too and ask their questions that the public may have that get answered along the way.
Yep. Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna open up public comment. Is there anybody here? Yep.
So Jen Vacca, Warwick Bridge Lane. I think I can appreciate what you guys just said about the national strategies. I was asking for you to respond about Buffalo specifically because Grafton has a problem with racism and white supremacy. I have a statement here that I will read. So just a few weeks ago, I asked that the select board review their vetting procedures to ensure that members of hate groups do not become members of town committees. I further requested that select board investigate diversity, equity, and inclusion education for all employees and committee members. At that time, I provided examples of racist speech occurring within our community. Since then, members of the local group that I call a hate group have continued their campaign. Among these are the egregious actions of a Grafton police dispatcher. After the town meeting, he accused the local anti-racist group of colluding with the town employee to tamper with the voting devices at the town meeting. This is a lie, and it's an irresponsible allegation. This particular town employee also spread the false theory that the new DEI position was paid for by cutting the school resource officer. An outspoken member of that local group, whose admins and members routinely attack a group in town that designs inclusive events, that's all they do, tweeted support for replacement theory just the other day. To refresh your memory, replacement theory reflects the belief that whites are being systemically replaced by people with black and brown skin. This is the lens through which the Buffalo shooter apparently saw the world. This statement, however, was not the first instance of replacement theory speech in Grafton. The first came during the recent select board race in a post which was contributed to the campaign page of a citizen who now sits on this committee. I will not read that post, but I will say it contained several white supremacist dog whistles. The notion that refugees are taking over towns like Framingham and Marlborough, and the claim that it could happen here if affordable housing is pursued, smacks of replacement theory. The suggestion that immigrants contribute nothing to our communities and rely upon government assistance is an anti-immigrant trope that is frequently utilized by the right. The comment went unchallenged. In response to hate speech right here in Grafton, many residents and community members have claimed ignorance or have remained silent. Silence in response to hate speech normalizes hate speech. It is clear Grafton has a problem. It is the responsibility of this board to set the tone of this town. It is your intention as leaders of this community to normalize hate speech from white supremacists. I request that a resolution be drafted condemning white supremacist speech. I ask that this resolution include a message of support for the community of Buffalo because they have suffered a tragedy that was related to racism and to hatred. I renew my request that committee members and employees receive some type of guidance on how to identify and appropriately respond to comments of hatred. We are not asking you to deny the First Amendment rights of any citizen. We are not asking you to denounce free speech. We are asking you to denounce white supremacy. It should not be difficult to do. It should not have been difficult for you to do. I would like to see this on an agenda for an upcoming meeting of the Select Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody on Zoom have their hand raised?
You do have one hand on Zoom.
Okay.
Can I respond? Or is this related? Do you think the hand is
You
related?
can, but you don't have to.
Is the hand unrelated or?
I don't know what the hand would like
Okay.
to speak about.
I just want to address, and to clarify for some folks in town, and perhaps some folks here, that during the campaign, on my campaign Facebook page, I did have a poll, a 3-part poll, looking for feedback from the town residents, from anybody in this town, on various issues in terms of prioritizing them. There was a comment made. I wasn't looking for comments, it was a poll, but there was a comment made just the same. I read some concern online, I had read it, and I quickly shut down comments so I could pause. Folks had things to say about that as well, and I subsequently took down the whole poll, all 3 questions, gone, within, I don't know exactly how long, but within a day or 2. Like many of you, I'm not on Facebook all the time, so I did my best to see what was there, and I addressed it. I took down the poll in its entirety, all 3 questions. There subsequently was some talk online after the election that I blocked people who had asked me to address this, and that could not be further from the truth. What I did the day after the election, the morning after the election, as a matter of fact, is from my personal Facebook account, I did decide to set some boundaries for myself. So for folks who had written hurtful, demeaning, and comments questioning my character, I did in fact block those people from my personal Facebook account. I still have a Select Board account. I now have an email via town, and additionally I have a website where you can email me certainly concerns and whatnot. So I decided the next morning that was what I was going to do for myself personally in terms of my own Facebook page. I'm not going to have people questioning my character or my integrity because I have no question, and anyone who knows me knows this to be true. I look forward to serving the town. I'm not going to talk about this again, and I just wanted to make clear what is being referenced here, and also to highlight the fact that I did not bring this comment up over and over again, as has been happening. That is nothing to do with me. And I won't discuss it anymore. Thank you. Thanks for the floor, Colleen.
No.
Okay, and who, the hand raised?
So Nancy has her hand raised. Nancy, you just have to unmute and you'll be allowed to talk. And then you do have one other hand on Zoom as well.
Okay, can you hear me? This is Nancy Piccone, 3 High Point Drive. I'm just wondering, this is a comment, but it's also a question. If the board is going to allow residents to get up and personally attack people with, like, absolute lies. Like, she's literally calling 900 people in my Facebook group, the Grafton group, white supremacists and a hate group because we disagree with her personal politics. I have complaints with the town, with certain employees and things like that. I don't feel like the select board is even the place to come and address those kind of complaints. I sent complaints to Mr. Broussard. I've kept those private. I don't understand how we're going to allow people to just get up and try to take out a group of 900 people with these blanket, insane statements that have been allowed at this meeting and a meeting about 3 weeks ago. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. And the other hand?
The other hand is Julie Feeney. And Julie has the ability to talk now as well.
Hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to say I'm not a great public speaker. I'm not a great speaker on the fly. I first of all want to say congratulations to everyone who is a new member and thank you for your service. And I do want to raise the concern, which I was one of the people that was blocked. And so I just want to raise the concern, and it's a real concern, that there are people in our community that I think routinely have attacked public volunteers through suggestions of violence, from what I've seen, from screenshots that I've seen, based upon beliefs that promote inclusion. And I don't know what the best way to address that would be, but I do want to support the idea that a good first step may be including in the onboarding process some strategies to support and the continuing education of select board and of volunteers and staff would be the continuing and onboarding focus on DEI and how to effectively work with citizens who express concerns. I don't know that I agree that blocking people who raise difficult questions is a good strategy that will support our town becoming the best town it could be. I do understand the need for mental health and for taking care of yourself, but I do think it's a worthy goal for the select board to have. And I know that Mr. Offen has raised the idea of the diversity audit and a potential committee, and that I hopefully are on the right track for that. And I love so many of the things that are happening, but I do think part of that might be some actual professional development of volunteers and of the select board. And I'm sorry that I'm talking so long. I just, again, not a great public speaker, but I did want to respond a little bit. And how do I stop talking? Do I just mute again?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and nobody else on,
We have no more hands on Zoom.
okay. All right, yes.
I'm sure you'd be disappointed to know I'm going to change the subject. I would have walked out after the lit presentation, but something that Mr. Broussard said during his presentation, and some of you know that we've kind of been talking about these lit process for a while now, essentially trying to figure it out, right? And what was missing from Mr. Broussard's, I think, is public input to you guys. Shouldn't you guys be getting public input at some point for your part of that lit process? And I'm thinking about like just what happened tonight, right? So Mr. Mead now has some direction of marching orders from you guys, but nothing from the public. And, you know, am I mistaken that the public should have some input along the line here to you guys, to the negotiations and the process that you're going to do?
There's no public input during the ZBA process?
Oh, there's a boatload of public input.
I guess
That's where it's usually
yeah.
done.
Oh, no, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah, no.
So Bill, the reason I didn't put it in there is that there's no a butter notification as part of the lit process.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, having it at the select board level gives a very disjointed way to gather that public input, where the ZBA has a very clear-cut statutory obligation to do that. I think all forms of public input into their elected body is obviously best practice. I don't know how to do that as part of the LIP in the same way that we do it at the ZBA level.
Yeah. So let's back up a few years. I thought as part of any 40B, you know, that was going for traditional funding sources, they still needed to come to you guys for a letter or some sort of a
Letter of approval, yeah.
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 And I thought there was public input to that in some way, or am I imagining that?
I don't think there was ever any.
No?
No.
I'm imagining that? And I could be. Like I said, we're trying to figure this out. So, that was the only thing that occurred to
And
me.
the developers have done, like, so Eastland, they had a public outreach, and I think they might even have a second one. So
Yep.
they're
did
doing
it on
their
their
version
own.
of it too. So there is
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. So most of them do that, and that's kind of to their advantage. It just struck me as it seemed like there should be, because otherwise, what I can envision happening here is you guys negotiate this thing and everything sounds really good, and then someone shows up at the ZBA and says, "What about this?" And we all go, "Oh wow," and that kind of has happened, right? In the ZBA, some people bring up some really good points that then need to really be dealt with, and the ZBA will deal with all that. But I'd hate to have it be. I guess it will be. I mean, if it contradicts what has been decided or negotiated, then so be it. But that's just that occurred to me as I was sitting there listening to it. I don't know the right and wrong of it, so I thought I'd stay here and bring it up.
So Bill, I think if I could.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fair point. No doubt. You're right. We are figuring it out a little bit as we go.
Absolutely.
And so I think that, what I would like to do is via Chris, just reach out to some of our sister communities and say, are you taking public input at the LIP presentation process? And if so, how are you notifying people that that's even going to happen? Because, let's face it, there's not a lot of people at home watching the select board agendas.
They're not.
There's more people here than I've ever experienced. Everywhere I go, people know who I am. I'm like, this is bizarre. But I think that my concern is just that, starting a practice that doesn't work well, that doesn't grab enough people, doesn't grab the right people, and are we doing, this patchy job that the abutter notification doesn't do. So, but I think it's a fair point, and I'd like to look into how other communities are doing that, if they are, or if they're saying no, that comes at a
I
later.
thought about it because you look at the Snow Road, the abutters, and I do know that the group home that's going in just up the road is having issues already with van access in and out. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know-
Suzanne Terrace in there and all that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a fair point. So for me, I'll internalize that and I'll internalize and ask Chris to figure out what other towns are doing. But no, fair point. And I appreciate
like
you.
I said, it occurred to me, and I had no intention of speaking tonight. I might have dressed better and came straight from practice.
You look
but,
awesome.
all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks,
Like,
Bill. Good night.
at the same token, and you certainly wouldn't want to discourage that conversation, but we could have had like 2 to 3 hours of
Yeah,
public
yeah,
input on that Snow Road proposal tonight, which I feel like the board is not necessarily in support of in its current state. So,
Well, and one of the things that I think we may want to think about is, Eastland did their outreach. What I heard about the Eastland outreach was, I didn't like this, or you should have done this, and that's always going to happen, right? But, does that become part of our process? I.e., you have to have a public outreach, and that's where we gain our information.
Yep.
As part of that, as a separate conversation. Maybe that's the solution for that. I mean, it's.
Do we know if Snow Road has done a public outreach at all?
No. they have not.
So the only public input we could actually take that would do anything is I don't want it or I do want it. Because when I was talking about density tonight and lot coverage and things like
Right.
that. Right. That's stuff that I know about, but people in the area may just, we
yeah,
don't
but-
want it. They're not gonna talk about, hey, the building's 55 feet tall.
Right.
Well, that's your job, Bill.
So I'll give you a really good example. Down on the project down off of Main Street behind St. James Church, up on the hill.
Yep.
So they came and they proposed this 10 years ago. But one of the things that came out from the immediate neighbors during the process was the flooding in that immediate area. Okay, a lot of neighbors getting bad flooding. And a little bit more work realized that there was actually problems with the drainage that was actually supposed to go from that general area, and it actually runs either through the South Grafton Elementary School property or alongside the South Grafton Elementary School property out and dumps down by the tracks, right? And nobody had any idea about any of that, but we were able to take that and make that part of the process, part of the project. So you guys want to build a house is fine, but you need to fix all that drainage. And I believe they're actually running a pipe and all the way down. I think they're putting a new pipe all the way down.
Yep.
Right? So, okay, so we were able to do that. Developer could have said no. But we got it, right? Now imagine that same thing comes to you guys and you know about some of that sort of stuff, you can make that part of the negotiation, right? And, but I also agree. I mean, if you opened up, if you said, hey, public come in and talk about Snow Road, room's probably gonna be full.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it, right? Because we get that each time. So I don't know what the answer is. It just, like I said, it kind of struck me.
No, it's
But there's that stuff that comes up that if you know about it now, you can negotiate it. And I suppose the ZBA could turn around and maybe send it back. You know, and or something along those lines, or, you know, so, I don't know. All right. Now, good night.
Okay, good night.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, meeting minutes.
Am I supposed to be doing something?
Nope.
Okay,
We need
you were
to
looking at me.
discuss it, we just move, or?
Can I do the two of them or?
Yeah, you can do them
You
in
can
one
do 'em
motion
both.
unless,
Yep.
yeah.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes from January 11th and January 18th as posted. Or as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, declare the motion carried. All right, so we do have a reason to go into a couple reasons to go into executive session tonight. To General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21-2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiation with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining session or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, as well as to discuss strategy with respects to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation process of a public body, and the chair so declares that we need to go into executive session. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
There you go.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, and by roll call,
Mead, aye.
Roy, aye.
Jefferson, aye.
Foley, aye.
Okay, we are in executive session. Thank you. We will come back in just to adjourn the public session later.